It's 90 seconds away from put-up time as the 10 international teams get themselves into position here for race number 1. 3 races scheduled for today here on the beautiful Mediterranean. And right now, the Australians, they lead the overall series. Can they get a good start? Yesterday in practice, they were not the sharpest team, Stevie. That honor would probably go to Denmark.
Denmark sailed a great event in Los Angeles, and yeah, yesterday they had the best practice day, but unfortunately, the practice day counts for absolutely nothing, which is good news for Australia. They didn't have a good day. But anyway, all that's in the books now. It's how do you perform in this next 60 seconds to get off the start.
So 1 minute away from the start of the first race here in France as everyone gets into position. We've had many different courses around the world, Stevie. What makes this one unique, and where do you want to position yourself?
Well, the Mediterranean conditions, often more of a bumpy sea state than the wind will give you, but there's light breezes. Can they get the boats on the foils? I expect there to be a lot of on and off the foil action, so it's who can take the boat off best as we're on board here, Canada now. Phil Robertson spins the boat down, trying to protect his space.
Penalty Canada relative to Switzerland.
Oh, too aggressive, too late. Canada's going to need to start out behind the fleet here. Disaster for them. We see that blue triangle. That marks the pole position here. Great Britain, they're going to have a bit of a run up, but it's New Zealand and Denmark well positioned in the middle of the line. Australia trying to dive in, but he's going to struggle to find a gap at the top of this line, Tom Slingsby. 10 seconds to go. Here we go. We're watching for the line to turn white, and then we'll be racing here in Saint-Tropez. Your timing looks a little early, Tom Slingsby. Who can get on the foils first as we blast to Mark 1? Oh, I think Australia just kept himself behind the line, but New Zealand out the middle of the line. They're going to be fast in towards Mark 1 from here. They've got a great angle. Can they hang on and roll around the top of the Germans?
On board with the Kiwis as they approach mark number 1, 6 legs race. This is the first of 3 races today in France. And look at the Germans in good position as well, as France is also there.
New Zealand just in time. They had just enough speed to get over the top. Great start by Eric Heil on board the German boat as well. They were showing good form yesterday as New Zealand are going to be setting up for gate 2 very soon. Tight course, as Lisa said. Manoeuvres are key, but if you're out in front, you can choose your own destiny.
Emirates GBR the first to turn away. The Americans look like they're going to join them as Canada and Spain also decide to pull away this time. And New Zealand leading the fleet out in front. They also make the maneuver. So it's New Zealand, Germany, and France. 1, 2, and 3 here as we move on to leg 2.
Here we go, New Zealand well set up. They're going to be trying to minimise the... Every time you turn the boat, you slow down. Now, you've got to turn the boat because the boats can't sail straight upwind and downwind. But New Zealand, we look for a left turn here. I imagine they're going to try and keep it simple.
Currently, they are the fastest boat on the course, the only team doing over 50 kilometres an hour.
Huge lead. They're not going to have to do any more manoeuvres, but most of the other boats, I think Denmark are going to struggle to get there without doing 2 more turns. Germany have missed the manoeuvre and fallen off the foils. They're slow coming into gate 2, and it's going to be really, really tight in the middle of the pack. Denmark will round second, and the USA, well, this is a much better start to the day for Jimmy Spitt. It was the Germans. They push it. That's going to be a penalty on Germany, I would have thought. They had to give right of way to the US, and I expect a protest, but we'll find more on that later as Emirates GBR dive inside. They're going to look to go around this mark in 3rd place. Great first downwind leg by the British crew, and they're going to get themselves moving upwind in clear wind, and we'll find out which side of the course is likely to be more favoured.
We can currently see on the top left that wind speeds are at 14.1 kilometres an hour. Now, that is the critical speed to be able to get up onto the foils. So we're not expecting foiling manoeuvres at this point from the teams.
So upwind now on leg number 3.
You can see down there on the left-hand side, we can see the true wind on New Zealand is a little bit more than Great Britain. If you can find more wind, that number on the top of our line there, you should be able to sail the boat faster. That's our fuel out here on the water today. So for those of you new to SailGP, let's remember the crews out there, the wind is not the same all over this course, so the crews are looking around, they're trying to find more wind, trying to find a different direction in wind to either go faster or sail a shorter distance.
And that wind is now dropping now below 12 kilometers an hour, so no one up and foiling right now, and they're trying to find that puff of wind, that gust that Lisa reported should be filling in on that other side of the course, and everyone's trying to find, Stevie, the sweet spot.
Yeah, and I think one thing to remember really here, I mean, when you're in the pack, like you see on the right-hand side of the screen there, they've got a big wing. and that wing is blocking the wind. So anyone further back in the fleet is getting more turbulent wind. So the key to doing good manoeuvres today really is to do them in space. When you're up and foiling, when you're going fast, and De on board France has done a great job of finding some space. They're up and foiling here, and they're going to get themselves charging back towards the Kiwi crew at the moment.
USA was sitting in third. They've dropped back to 6 as they found somewhat of a dead spot on the course right now, and they've dropped both holes into the water. And now France back up and foiling again. They sit in second place behind New Zealand. Denmark sits in third.
Here we go. They're going to be setting up for a manoeuvre soon here. Don't think they're going to be able to stay on the foils, but a good manoeuvre will be crucial. Let's watch in, see how this French crew can do. Bottom right-hand corner of our screen, they're about to turn. They've got clear wind, clear space. It looks like they do a nice manoeuvre. Look at that top of our screen. The whole fleet is drawn together. They're going to be struggling for much wind, and they all look very slow. It's going to get richer for New Zealand and France right now, but the Danes are up on the foils, middle of the screen, and they have the right of way. If it's close between Denmark and France, in about 5 seconds' time, it's going to be right of way Denmark.
This is the umpire's penalty, Canada, relative to Germany. Port tack boat not keeping clear.
Well, we've got a similar situation coming here. The French don't have the right of way. He's got to be confident that he's clear. Oh, he's judged it well, Contan. They've kept the boat up on the foils. We can see there one boat up in the air foiling, one boat in the water. And it just is such a big difference in speed if you can get that right. If you get it wrong and fall off the foils, it's very, very costly.
GBR looking really good here. They're one of the few teams up on the foils and coming across now.
I think what we're going to see a little bit of today, Todd, is as you come up, well, we had to speak to Lisa about this, hopefully, as the day goes on, but this top gate here, up under the shoreline, it's great for the fans under the shore there, but there won't be many ripples on the rosé on that shore at the minute, because there's a lot less wind at the top end of this course, so the boats struggle to stay on the foils. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to go down the water very soon and find out with Lisa how it looks.
All right, let's do that. Let's go down and check in with Lisa Darmanin as they approach the next gate. Lisa, what are you seeing? We'll have to check back in with Lisa as we reconnect comms with her. This is leg 3 of 6, so nearing the halfway point. It is still New Zealand out in front. Great Britain now overtakes them, and they move into lead with New Zealand dropping back to third, make it fourth with Denmark now in the third position.
I think that could be an issue with our graphics at the moment there, Todd, because actually New Zealand did a good job. They're up on the foils, and I think what's interesting is the side that New Zealand's coming to here is away from the shoreline. I expect there to be a little bit more breeze out that way. Surprised to see Great Britain turn away so soon. But it wouldn't be the first time Ben Ainsley's seen something I haven't.
So as the rest of the fleet makes their way onto leg number 4 of 6, it'll be down the course, then back up, and then a quick right-hand turn to the finish line. We'll try checking in with Lisa Darmanin one more time. Big, massive boats up at the top of the course, Lisa.
There's actually a big hill that's sitting just above the gate that the boats are going around, and the wind is dumping over the top of it. So as they round that gate, they really accelerate. Where Great Britain and Denmark are going right now, that's where the gains were made the previous leg. So I think they're actually going to do quite well out of this. Keep your eyes on the Danish team.
So Denmark currently sitting in second place.
Oh, there's a bit of action top left-hand side of screen. Apologies for the industrial language coming off the boats there. We can see a really tight boat. Spain looked like they turned right in front of the Canadians. Oh, and it was the boat, the Canadians, that should have had the right of way in that situation. Got to expect a penalty coming here, Phil Robertson. Obviously, heightened moves there. We can see boats falling off the foils. Inaccuracy of manoeuvres. Decision-making is really, really hard.
And happy takeoff.
Well, just before we checked in with Lisa down on the water, you saw 4 boats all looking to see like they were jockeying for one spot. Meanwhile, we go on board with Switzerland. See the penalty now being doled out, looks like, to Canada, their 3rd penalty of this race.
Wow, that is amazing that the Canadians got a penalty for that. I can only assume that Phil Robertson just didn't see the Spanish. I'd have thought they'd been coming at each other from a different direction. Bit of an unforced error by the Canadians there. Here we go. We're going to get to see what happened here. Canada, well, they had the right of way there, but he's manoeuvring. Oh, my Lord, look at the turn there. Wow. That's incredible scenes out there on the water. I mean, that we're going to have to ask a little bit more detail. The right of way looked to be with the Canadians, but they were turning direction here.
on board.
Oh, my word. I mean, that is a big, big moment. Hopefully no one's hurt. It looks like it stayed clear.
He did nothing there to even consider moving out of the way.
Got to say, I agree with Phil on that one. I'm surprised which way the penalty went, but anyway, there we go. Mine is not to judge too heavily, but I was very surprised that the Canadians got a problem for that.
Back to the racing. We've got New Zealand still out in front and gaining every minute. The Brits have rounded in second, with the Danish just coming up now in third.
There's Rockwell, Denmark, making their way around. One hole in the water, H1 for them.
Okay, happy, H1 job, yep.
Yeah, it's light at the bottom of that course, isn't it, Todd? And I think what we can see here, look, top left of our screen, New Zealand, just showing the benefits of being out in front. And of course, they don't tend to make many mistakes on that New Zealand boat either. So good positioning. He's sailing parallel to that yellow line that the Kiwi boat's sailing parallel to. That's what we call the lay line. That means he's going to make the next gate with no more turns required.
And here in the numbers, we can see just how much better the Kiwis are doing. 60% of the time they have been foiling. GBR in second only at 53%, and the Danish in third down to 34. And you can see that in their average speeds.
Some of the teams moving up the ladder, others moving down. For the USA SailGP squad, Stevie, they were as high as third on the second leg, and now they find themselves dead last in 10th.
Story of their season, really. I think it's just slightly inaccurate maneuvers. They fall off the foils, and then it's really, really painful to get back on the foils. Tom Slingsby here, he was stuck in the back of the pack. They've just sailed accurately and potentially going to get themselves a scoring result out of this. Middle of the pack, though, is still a long, long way behind this team. New Zealand, well, they look pretty slick out there today. Should be just one more turn to do at the gate, and then they're going to be finishing in under the fans.
They've just taken off out there.
Pretty cruisy view. Interesting back of the boat there, Joe Allais, back on board as strategist. Bit of a change up by the Kiwis. She's been busy with her Olympic sailing programme through the early season, but of course she came on board when they won their first event in Plymouth last year. And well, perhaps no coincidence that she's back on board and they're straight out in front.
Look at this lead for the Kiwis out in front, the winners of the first event in Chicago, and they look to start things off here in Saint-Tropez with a big victory in race number 1. No one within sight of New Zealand SailGP, and it'll be Peter Burling and crew that'll bring it across the finish line in front of the Adrenaline Lounge to the applaud of the fans here in France on a beautiful day for sailing. The Kiwis with a great start, never really threatened throughout this race, and they will bring it home for a victory in race number 1. Meanwhile, penalty doled out to the Americans as they drop into 9th. So with one hole in the air, it is New Zealand that wins race number 1 here at the France Sail Grand Prix Day 1, Saint-Tropez.
Pete Burling saying great start, guys, and I can't disagree. I mean, they led at Mark 1, brilliant start in these light conditions, and then, well, if you lead, you get the first pick of the goods in terms of the decision-making process, and we can see that when you're back in the pack, it's just so much harder to get up and going. But Emirates GBR, they were in the pack at gate number 2, found some space, and they've sailed well, and I think this is a pretty important event for Ben and the crew, because you can't beat around the bush. They're not doing very well in season 4.
Yeah, currently Emirates GBR sits in 6th place overall on 9 points. And they've never had a problem, Stevie, it seems like, on day number 1 of the race. It's the second day that usually does them in. So a second place finish is a great way to start their campaign here on the Med.
Good composure.
Good composure. Well, I think you're going to need to keep your composure out there today. That is for sure. And well, let's say Denmark here, Rockwell, Denmark, I mean, they sail very, very well in practice, and it's kind of quite symptomatic of how they are sailing at the moment. They're in the pack, but they're able to find, but if you are in the pack, the only way you can overtake is to try and get yourself sailing away from other boats, to find clear wind, find some space. And at the moment, Nikolai, and he's got Katja Selva Iversen behind him there in the strategist role, doing a very nice job of getting their head out of the boat and finding that space, and then the crew on board are delivering a fast boat to sail. So good result by Rockwell, Denmark.
I think they also make very intelligent decisions at all of the gate marks. They choose the sides with least boats, and we've seen big park-ups, especially at that last bottom gate, where if you can get that space that you're talking about, Stevie, you can make huge gains getting ahead of multiple boats at one point.
So the Danes will check in at 3rd place as they cross the line, and now we've got a real dash to the finish for that 4th spot. Right now it's Australia that has the lead. Here comes Switzerland on their right-hand side, and France right behind them.
Yeah, Switzerland have the right of way in this situation here, Todd, so they're allowed to dive in and turn, and they're foiling, so they're going a lot quicker. Slingsby has to turn away. He's got to make sure he doesn't get himself stuck inside the Swiss. No right of way with Australia here, but the Swiss have done a nice job of getting the manoeuvre done, and they should now be able to get through and forth. What a comeback from the Swiss. You heard the voice of Nathan Outridge there, strategist, the wind whisperer at the back of the boat. Really enjoyed that, found some space. They were in last position early on in this race, and they've come back to what's going to be a very good counting fourth. Good recovery, exactly. And I think that's going to be the story of the day. If you are in the pack, there's plenty of racing left on a day like this.
This is the umpires. Penalty France, relative Germany, not entitled to room at the mark.
Oh, wow.
So France will have to drop back and lose a position. So 1 through 5 has now been contested. France will have to bear away. It looks like Germany may benefit as Spain will come in, and Spain will get 6th place.
It's a really tight finish. The French desperation there, diving in, and they've done a big manoeuvre here. Oh, wow. Costly for the French. France, USA and Canada. It's not a great first race.
So France having issues at the end. They were battling for a 6th possible position. They end up finishing in 8th place. The USA comes in 9th. They were as high as 3rd in that first race, and they crossed the line, Stevie, as you pointed out, just too many unforced error. In Canada, they picked up not 1, not 2, but 3 critical penalties, especially the one that got them at the start line, and then that one in the middle with a collision. We'll have to find out how that plays out with Spain.
Yeah, I think when we've looked back a little bit at the footage of that incident, I think what's been deemed by the umpires is the Spanish had already done their manoeuvre, and when the Spanish had finished their manoeuvre, despite not being in the right of way, Canada weren't lined up to hit them. The umpires have deemed that Canada changed direction to line up a collision, to make it into a situation, and then Canada were too late bailing out of that, which caused the collision. So yeah, for me, big call by the umpires, but they see a lot more data than we do. So tricky start for the Canadians, because if you have a crash, then you're going to get penalty points as well.
The all-important question here in Saint-Tropez, which way is the wind coming, Stevie, and how much is coming our way as we are now at 1:45 before the start of race number 2?
We are, and well, it's all about the pre-race manoeuvres here to try and be able to hit the start line fast on the foils. We can see that start line in the middle of our screen. They're going to be coming from the side that the German boat is on the top of our screen at the moment, back down. So all the boats here coming into the starting box. They'll be on a timed run, but Pete told us you've got to be fairly fast on your feet and adaptive to the situation. The Kiwis do always like to be towards the back end of the boats coming in, which lets them see where everyone else lines up, pick their spot, and then hope to execute things. And well, anyone that needs a good race right now, it's Canada. They've got to turn things around after a disastrous race 1.
That was interesting, the take when we talked with Peter Burley in New Zealand, how he was just so calculated, and it was just so matter of fact of how to get a great start. You know, just point by point, he just checks the box and moves along.
Yeah, they'll have a system. They're a very experienced team, and they've really sort of unlocked the code in many ways as to how to get off this start line well so often. But now they're right in the middle of the pack on that New Zealand boat towards the top of our screen. Can they find some space from there? I don't know that it'll be that easy. Australia well positioned, Denmark well positioned. They're early back. Denmark are close to the start line here. Hard for them to accelerate, so it's all about the judgment of when to take the boat off. Slingsby, much better positioning, and Great Britain and New Zealand have now found some space. New Zealand to the right-hand side of our screen are foiling, and they've got a good run in at the start line here. Well positioned on board. Denmark, Australia, New Zealand and Great Britain towards the top right of our screen, but the blue spot in the middle of the line there, that's the pole position, that's the position on the start that will give you the fastest angle towards Mark 1. It's all about your timing now though. Spain look a little bit early at the bottom of our screen, and France coming through at the top of the screen. Line turns white, penalty Germany, penalty Spain.
Early start, penalty Spain and Germany, no delayed starters.
They're going to need to drop back in the pack from there, and the French, well, they're going to be leading away at Mark 1. France and Australia, Australia with the faster angle from the middle of the line. On board with Spain here, they've got to drop behind the whole fleet. As we see France are on the inside, they have the right of way. Can they hold on? Yes, they can. Great rounding by De La Pierre on board the French boat there, and now it's their chance to stretch away.
So it's France, Australia, and Great Britain at mark number 1, race number 2.
First to turn away in the background, it's a repeat of race 1. Emirates, Great Britain, he likes what he sees on that side of the course. First to turn followed rapidly by New Zealand and Switzerland. They all like the wind on that side of the course. Top of our screen, that's where Lisa Darmanin said she saw more wind. If they can get into more wind, they will be able to sail these F50s faster. And we can see already, moving down our ladder lines, left to right across the screen, that's taken us towards gate 2, and it looks like Australia have judged this one well out of the middle. Should be looking for a left turn at gate 2, and I think Australia will lead from here.
And look at Australia. They have overtaken the French on the ladder lines as they approach gate number 2. So it'll be Australia, France, and Great Britain, the top 3 here at gate number 2 at the bottom of the course, with the Australians desperately needed a big victory here. They got a 5th in race number 1.
Interesting here, Todd, what we see there. We see Australia and France. They've chosen to keep things simple, but New Zealand have chosen to do an extra manoeuvre, but they will be the first boat to turn right here out of gate number 2. Good opportunity for them to get going here and find some space in clear wind. Clever tactics by the New Zealand crew. They set that up at Mark 1. They made this happen. Now, have they found some wind? Can they stay fast?
In general, across the course, we are seeing more breeze. We're between 15 and 25 kilometres an hour of wind. So that's good news for all the teams. More foiling manoeuvres, hopefully, and some higher speeds.
There's pressure this way. We want to go all the way, I think.
That's the voice of Kyle Langford. Wing Trim Australia, they're top of our screen now. We can see them going as exactly like Kyle asked for, all the way to the boundary, maximising the width of the pitch there. So if Kyle's right and has found more wind, we'd expect a good game for Australia here versus New Zealand. Well, they had a pretty good lead already anyway. They're out in front, and we know the Roos tend to be pretty good when they've got a lead. They rarely give it up.
Australia, the 3-time defending and reigning SailGP champions, currently lead with a 1 point in the overall over Spain and Rockwool, Denmark, and this would be a huge improvement off that 5th place performance in race number 1. This is similar, Stevie, to what we saw in race 1 with the Kiwis checking out, and now it's the Australians' turn with France, USA, Great Britain, and Spain now all mired in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, don't be surprised to see that now. What New Zealand are doing is, we can see there Great Britain are going right to left, New Zealand going straight up our screen, and most of the race, New Zealand have been trying to keep going the opposite directions to other boats, which will give them space. But there's nothing better than having the space out in front. We're going to see Australia. Well, we've got our ladder lines on the course. They show how far they've progressed up the course, but we can see 150 metres lead already. And I think we can expect Australia to try and keep things pretty simple from here.
At gate 3, it is Australia out in front, and they have got a huge lead, nearly 200 meters, with France sitting in 2nd place. The Americans are back in the mix, with Great Britain just off their left-hand side as they reach back to the top of the course. Let's check in with Lisa Darmanin. Lisa, what are you seeing? It looks like there may be some shifting going on with the wind.
Yeah, huge right shift. So the American team and the British team were just sailing way less distance. So that's how they've got back into the race. But really tight battle here between USA and Great Britain, getting very slow. So the boats behind have an opportunity to catch these boats now.
Yeah, you see Great Britain there. They opted the last second to pull away and split the course with the Americans. But both of them, to Lisa's point, Stevie, very slow up there, and they've lost the wind.
Well, they have, but also to Lisa's point, the right turn at the top is the side of the course that she said she's seen more wind. That was the side of the course where USA and Great Britain actually made a gain. So a little bit surprising to see Emirates Great Britain turning the other way and choosing to do an extra manoeuvre. It means he did have some space, but he's now trapped by the Spanish. It was a lot of manoeuvres to do very quickly. New Zealand, they turn right as well. They look to follow the United States. That top of the screen, as we were just seeing then, where Spain have turned towards now, that's where Lisa's saying she's seeing more wind, so we can only assume that would be the more favoured side of the course. Be interesting for Great Britain whether or not they can hang on to 3rd position from where they are now.
Impressive performance here by the French. We saw them in the top 3 in the last race, but they couldn't quite hold on to it. Well, they seem to have sorted out those gremlins and pushing hard to catch the Australians back up. That previous leg, we did see them 4 kilometres an hour slower on that upwind leg than the Australians. I think a lot of that has to do with the manoeuvres. The Aussies are just managing all of those turns a lot better.
just don't make a lot of mistakes. Tom Slingsby and the Australians looking so clean and so smooth. We talk about the points. Remember, it's 10 points for a win, 1 point for last place. France finished in 8th in the first race, so if they can finish with a second, Stevie, that will be a huge salvage on the day. And of course, Australia finishing the 5th. If they can hold on for first, that's enormous.
Yeah, feels like a high-scoring event, this one, doesn't it? You can see if you get a good start, you can easily sail away and hang on to these positions. But if you don't get your start quite right, which is often a split-second decision, right? Doesn't matter how good you are, you've got a big, big job on to get back into the pack. As we can see at the moment, New Zealand stuck in that pack, and Switzerland, who had a great race one, well, they're right at the back. It's going to be very, very tight down here at this gate. Spain have got a nice turn left. Where did Great Britain go? Where did New Zealand go? Can they get round in front of the Danes? New Zealand look like they're going to go right turn. Great Britain, they're off the foils again. A lot of manoeuvres by this British crew at the moment. It's going to be doing a hard job to stay fast when you have... Oh, my word. Oh, wow. Did New Zealand give enough space to Denmark there? That was very, very tight. Denmark looked like they had rights to be on the inside, but maybe they dived in there too late.
Well, the big question, I guess, Stevie, for those people who maybe are new to sailing, and we've talked about this from your reporting and Lisa Darmanin down on the water, the right side seems to have more wind. People might say, why don't they just stay on the right side of the course the whole time?
Well, that is a great question, Todd, and that's because our boats can't sail straight into the wind. That's why we see them kind of heading off in different directions here. They're sailing at an angle of about 45 degrees to the wind, and, well, if you do a lot of manoeuvres, you'll fall off the foils and be very slow. So it's constantly a compromise. Do I want to do extra manoeuvres and hopefully be sailing fast in more wind, but I'm going to slow down every time I do a manoeuvre, or do I have to go to the wrong place at times?
Tom Slingsby.
Yeah, we see Tom Slingsby there. He's talking about a lefty. So that means the wind has changed direction to the left. You can see they're sailing only parallel to the ladder lines. If he turns the boat now, he'll be nearly progressing straight up the parallel, but he's run out of wind. Poor manoeuvre on board the Australian boat there. They just dropped out of the breeze. Got a bit tricky at the end, but that's the advantage of having a several hundred-metre lead. There are no problems.
Big opportunity for the French team here, who are currently up on the foils. We can see here coming across. While they might not get them, they have closed that gap.
Close the gap. Australia has the right of way here, though. They've entitled to room on that mark, but they're going to be going straight through to the finish now. So the French will follow them from here, and it should be good news for the Australians. They should be comfortably clear and in for a race win here.
Coming into the final gate, it's the Australians getting pressure from France right behind them. Quentin Delapierre and his team doing a great job here in this second race on home waters, looking to salvage some points here with one more race still to go. But race number 2 here at the France Sail Grand Prix Saint-Tropez will belong to the Australians. The 3-time reigning and defending champions win race 2 in France.
Some finish for the fans there. There's a lot of them in the shoreline, as we can see, scattered the whole way along the Saint-Tropez shoreline. They'll love seeing the hometown favourites coming in, and look how close the finish line is to the Adrenaline Lounge and to all the fans on the shore in Saint-Tropez. Good viewing today. Great breeze, and in fact this gusty, shifty breeze, it does make for overtaking opportunities, which is pretty exciting. As we look at the right-hand side of our screen, the USA are coming in on the left-hand side for a third, but Emirates Great Britain, that decision to do those extra manoeuvres, they've dropped all the way back to 8th. Massive loss. And well, after picking their way through the fleet so well in the first race, struggled in this one, and third for the US, done the exact opposite of the British.
USA SailGP bounces back nicely from that first race 9th. They finished in 3rd in race number 2, and Spain will claim 4th. So Spain with a 6 and a 4, Stevie, not terrible for them.
No, very consistent. I think consistency is going to be pretty hard out here today. We can see 5th place Canada, they need that now. Denmark must keep clear. Really, really tight moment here. Denmark have got to keep clear. They've got to keep clear in New Zealand. He's going to try and force them up off the foils. Denmark did a good job of keeping clear, but that was aggressive from Burling. Maximised the rules really well, and he is going to be able to finish ahead of the Danes from here, I would think. But both boats are off the foil. Can either of them get foiling? If anyone does... No, it's perfectly up on the foils for New Zealand, and they're going to bring it home there in 6th. Every point counts, and that was just in time for New Zealand.
So it's New Zealand getting 6th after winning the first race. Denmark will finish in 7th. The big winners, though, Australia in race number 2. Emirates GBR finishing off in 8th place. Steve, you go back just 2 legs, and they were battling for 3rd with the Americans, and they dropped back. Was that just a poor set of maneuvers, or just picked the wrong side of the course?
A little bit case in point to what you were asking me a minute ago, which I think I was possibly a bit wordy with, but they've chosen to do more maneuvers. They tried to stay where the more wind was, which should be a gain, but in doing so, they did a lot of extra maneuvers, and the maneuvers were very, very costly. If you fall off the foils when you turn the boat, to re-accelerate is going to take a lot of time, and for me, Emirates Great Britain just did too many maneuvers in that situation, got too slow for too long, and they lost a lot of distance.
Really topsy-turvy, very much the parity here in France, because you look at teams like USA, Canada, and France. They finished in the top 5 in the second race, where they finished in the bottom 5. Team like Switzerland that finished in 4th in race number 1, they finished in 10th on race number 2. But the big winners in race number 2, the Australians, the 3-time reigning and defending champions.
We're seeing a lot more gusts on the course, but the light wind spots are still as light as ever. So the maneuvers are really critical. The maneuvers, it's about doing them when you're in pressure. So when they're going fast, when they're falling fast, before they run out of wind, that's when they've got to turn the boat. I can see the teams setting up for the race course, but we keep talking about reading these puffy conditions. And what I'm seeing from water level out here is you can see it, but because it's coming off the shore, it's really late. So you can't really predict it. You don't have as much time to think about it. When you see it, you've got to react fast. So it is easy to see once it's here, but it's very late, so it is tricky. I think we're going to have a really nice reach to Mark 1 here. The gusts are looking fantastic if we get a good puff on that start line.
All right, thank you, Lisa. As we come up under 2 minutes to go before the start of the 3rd and final race, so you see the flags pretty much backing up what Lisa was talking about, and the Australians, winners of the last race, looking to make it 2 for 2 on these last 2 races of the day after a disappointing performance on race 1. But Tom Slingsby, that getting that 5th place, Stevie, was actually a great salvage job by him and his crew.
Yeah, I think it was, and I think we had a good camera angle on that helicopter a minute ago. What the sailors are trying to look for out there. You've got Tom Slingsby obviously driving the boat, wing trimmer Carl Langford we heard from, but also I think it's a big, big day for Tash Bryant. It's her job to get ahead out the boat. Lisa mentioned the gusts and the lulls. For any of you that played Super Mario Kart at home and you get one of those speed boosts as you run over a rocket, that's a gust of wind. If you hit a banana skin, that's like running into a no-wind area and you're just going to slow down. Boats will pretty much stop, and that's effectively what the sailors are doing. They're trying to find all those gusts of wind that are going to give them the big speed boost, but right now it's about hitting that line in 1 minute's time.
Emily, you get the idea that Stevie played a lot of Super Mario Kart.
I do indeed, but it does make sense. And with the big differential between the gusts and lulls, that difference from getting one of your speed gains is going to be even, or banana peel is going to be even bigger.
That's right.
Really tight here, Stevie. 40 seconds before the line goes white.
Yeah, there's not long to go to the start. We know the positioning right now is so crucial, even more so in these light winds. Those big 29-metre wings are blocking the wind, and New Zealand out the back of the fleet at the moment, they're going to be in less wind. They think they might struggle to make the line from there. They're a long way back, but they are foiling. Australia and Canada well positioned for our pole position. Mid-line is the favourite start to hit the line, but it's all about being on the foils and fast at that point. Emirates Great Britain well positioned as well. 10 seconds to go to the start. Here we go. The crew's winded up. They've got the line in sight. Who's got their timing right as the line's about to turn white? Go, and we are clear start. Great start by Emirates New Zealand. France and USA, can they make it happen? Sorry, Emirates Great Britain out the bottom of the line. They look like they're going to have a fast inside line, but Emirates, can they hang on?
USA also in the mix as they approach mark number 1. The wind is up. The USA into the mark first, and they will control this race and get the whole shot with France right behind them.
Great start by Jimmy Spittle and a great start by Quentin de la Pierre on board the French boat. They really converted that top of the line fast angle so well as we see the boats head away downwind. That's Ainsley talking to his strategist Hannah Mills here.
Should reload again in 2.
They're just talking about the wind coming. A reload, that means we're going to get a bit more breeze, and we can see now the angle of the course has changed a bit. They're progressing right down these ladder lines by not turning at Mark 1. Big difference from the first 2 races, and that will favour the leaders even more.
This is almost a case of follow the leader. Look at this with the Americans out in front, France and Great Britain 1, 2, and 3, with the Australians the first to blink and bear away.
Yeah, well, they've turned the boat away, trying to make something happen, but are they well lined up for gate 2? Looks to me like the wind has rotated a bit to the bottom left-hand corner of our screen, which means that you would not be surprised to see some of the boats look to do a right turn and come back this way. But if you're the USA, I think you're going to be looking at going straight and keeping things pretty simple.
Looks like the Americans, as Stevie pointed out, are right on the line, that ley line into the gate, and it looks like they're going to make that left-hand turn and stay on that right side of the course.
Yeah, I think they just don't want to do a maneuver there for the USA. Of course, we can't quite see the wind they can see, but it was interesting that France and Emirates Great Britain were happy to come back this way, because this is the different favouring to the race before, but it feels like maybe the wind's turned to the left. Perhaps now would be a good time to go down and find out of Lisa. Have we had a wind shift on the course, Lisa?
Good. Let's get...
Yeah, it has definitely turned to the left. So when we started the race, it was the most right forecast. So now we can expect as it dies, it will slowly go more to the left. That's what we saw yesterday anyway, and we're seeing right now. But still really good pressure out on the left-hand side. I think that where the French are at the moment, they will be in a very strong position.
Now France sitting in second place, the U.S. out in front. Emirates GBR showing in third place, but very even with the French, and then the Australians coming into view in fourth.
Yeah, crucial though, the French have done a manoeuvre and they're back on the foils, so they look as having a bit of a loss to the USA at the moment, but it could play out longer term.
And here's why. We can see that the USA on the top of our screen, they're in 19-20 kilometres an hour of wind, and so they've had a bit more boat speed. Currently it's dropped because of their manoeuvre, but the French and the British on the other side of the course have a little bit less wind, 17.
Really patchy out there, Todd, and we can see at the moment the USA, Jimmy Spittle, well, Saint-Tropez for the USA last year, and he seems to like it here.
So Spithill and the Americans trying to pick up a victory here after a disappointing first race where they got ninth. If they could finish off with a third and a first to wrap the day up, Stevie, they'll be in great position for tomorrow.
Look at how much the wind's changing direction, Todd. USA are nearly sailing straight up the course with the wind now coming from the top right of our screen. So they're really making fast progress up here, but the wind is changing direction all the time. And as we say that, look, Jimmy Spithill, he has to turn the boat away, not because of any other boats, but because the wind has changed its direction and the French are forced to manoeuvre to keep out of the way of the Germans.
Entire French-speaking crew there for Quentin Delapierre.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear Kevin Pepier, the wing trimmer, talking about the target speed he wanted, and then we heard Quentin say, Sampa is nice. Nice, Kevin. Thanks for the information. So the comms are clear. Whatever language they're in, it's all about clear comms.
Jimmy Spithill now with the Americans as they approach gate number 3 in the final race of the day.
Well, Rockwool Denmark, they've done a nice job of getting out in front again, and it's about the battle in the pack. USA, well, we've seen every team that has led at gate 3 have managed to take away the win and bring it home.
Look at that for USA, 45 kilometres an hour average speed, highest foiling percentage as well out of all the teams at almost 90%, and that's just going to allow them to stretch their legs even further and further cement this win, hopefully.
Has there been another shift? That's the big question as they make the head back down the course. Lisa, what are you seeing?
It's really difficult out here. The wind is becoming very unstable. We're seeing different things on different sides of the courses. The boats are actually pointing in all different directions. We've got a big battle about to happen between New Zealand, Australia and Great Britain. It is all happening out here. Anything can happen here.
The wind's really rotated to the side of the course that Australia are on at the moment, so Australia and New Zealand, it should be good news for them, but the New Zealand boat not foiling. Good opportunity for Slingsby here to get back in the race. Do the French boat get ahead? Yes, they do. I think for New Zealand and Australia, this is a crucial leg. They went into this race first and second, but look how tight that pack is. Anywhere from third to ninth is very easily achieved by any of those key teams right now, but one thing's for sure, the boats that are on the foils are going to be a lot more relaxed than those boats behind, as New Zealand put in another manoeuvre in the pack. It's going to be tricky for them. They need to get foiling soon.
And the lead for the Americans now 400 meters over second place and Denmark. Meanwhile, the battle down at the bottom, as Stevie pointed out, a lot of positions to be shifted here as the wind holding just over 15 kilometers an hour as we approach leg number 4. This will be gate 4 for the Americans. They are way out in front. This is a massive lead, Stevie. This might be the biggest lead they've had all year, going back to last year when their lead wasn't this big, but they won the overall.
My memory is not what it was, but I'm pretty sure they haven't won a race yet this season. So this would be a big moment for the US team. They need to get their wheels back on the campaign, as it were, and this is a good one for Jimmy Spithill. This is exactly where he did it last season in Saint-Tropez. Something in the water here that he seems to like, that's for sure, because they're sailing very smooth. But it just kind of as well goes to show the point. They can look pretty average when they're in the pack, as a lot of these teams do. All the teams, if you put them out in front,
right,
then they do a pretty nice job.
Look like rock stars, right?
Yeah.
Touch and go, touch and go, touch and go.
Jimmy Spithill calling for the touch and go.
Oh, that's going to be a bit of a messy tack. They just saved it. They managed to lower it into the water quite nicely, but here we go. Wind, look at this, top of our screen, Australia. They turn left under the Saint-Tropez shoreline. They've got barely any wind up there, back to 9th. Right-hand side of our screen, New Zealand, they did the extra manoeuvre, but they found the extra wind, and it's wind that wins here in Saint-Tropez. And look at that, New Zealand up to 5th, Australia back to 9th. How pivotal will that last 2 minutes be?
Looking at that downwind leg for our leading teams, we can see just how much the USA stretched ahead. Almost 50 kilometers an hour average speed, while the Danish and GBL were down at 47. All teams doing one maneuver, but the British, look how far they sailed, only 1 kilometer, and that is a huge difference from 1.5, clearly showing that the breeze shift that they got massively shortened distance sailed.
Quite a few maneuvers for Emirates GBR in race number 2. They put up 14 on the board, Stevie, so maybe they learned their lesson here, and they've obviously picked the right side, as Sir Ben Ainslie, one of the best in the business, has got his team in 3rd place. They finished in 2nd in race number 1 before falling back to 8th in race number 2, so this is a pivotal moment for them as well.
Yeah, huge moment.
I reckon just send it, mate.
Definitely,
well said, Tom.
Keep it simple, Tom. That is a fair point. Yeah, I think, you know, the Danish, they are doing such a nice job here. We come on board, Nikolai Seherstedt. It sounds pretty calm, but they've gone out to that side of the course where the Kiwis made a big gain. The right-hand side of the course, we call it, and sailing top of our screen at the moment. And we see now it's changing all the time. There we go. Ben Ainslie discussing tactics. He's up to 3rd. Good comeback by the British crew here. Talking about having a cross, he's ahead of the French. Really shifty. You can see at one moment the crews are nearly sailing straight up our ladder lines. Here we go, right of way, France. They've had a big shift in the wind. Emirates, Great Britain, look, they've had to turn right out of their way. That was just a big wind change direction. Great Britain had to react, as we see. USA, Denmark, France are 1, 2, 3 at the moment, up and foiling, but they're sailing nearly parallel to our ladder lines.
So, Stevie, is this a case where the Americans are sailing better and the Danes have just found the better spot on the course, because it was a 400-meter lead, now down to 200-meter?
I think, to be honest, probably you just end up in a bit less wind. Sometimes you're going to have your time, if you like, and you're going to get wind or you're not going to get wind, as we see there. The Danish, look, the wind's just changed direction. Look at the wake off the back of the boat. They were sailing nearly up the ladder lines, they're now sailing nearly across the ladder lines. Part of that's to try and build speed before the manoeuvre, but a big part's the wind's changed direction. The wind changed direction, we're not making any progress to the gate. Let's turn the boat, and then we'll be aiming more towards the gate. It's all about the time you take to get between gates, minimising that. You do that by either going faster or by doing less distance.
Hey, taking off. This is coursing.
So through the last gate, it is Jimmy Spithill and USA SailGP. A much-needed victory for the Americans. It was a year ago when they won the overall here in Saint-Tropez. And in race number 3, Spithill and company will take the victory on the Mediterranean.
Wow, there's some big action here, as we can see now. Denmark well positioned for 2nd, but New Zealand, well, they were last off the start line. They're currently showing as 5th, but I think it's going to be tight at the top here between Great Britain, France. And if it does get tight and they get into a fight, don't be surprised to see New Zealand back in this race. Denmark, good, solid, consistent day out there, though.
Yeah, but you guys are just doing nothing. You're just doing nothing out there. Nice work, boys. Nice one, Hans.
That's a bit of feedback from Tom Johnson. All he does all day is ease that big wing sail out while the big grinders on the front make it happen for him. But here we go. France, they have the right of way. They have to do whatever they want here. They've got to turn right eventually, but if he can get close to Great Britain, don't be expected to see him try and push him off the course. Does Ainsley think he's clear ahead? He obviously does. He's carrying on. The French have to turn. Emirates GBR, no problem, says Ainsley, and he's round the front. A good third position for them. Good result for the French, and that's some comeback by Emirates New Zealand. How important that's going to be. As I said, I think it's all about how do you turn your bad ones into decent ones.
Perfect judgment as Ben Ainsley and Hannah Mills predict that perfectly. They had the distance to get around, and it is Emirates GBR that gets third place. France will hold on for fourth place after finishing second in race number 2. So now, get out your advocates and start counting. Day number 1 points. We'll tabulate them quickly. So what a finish for France in the mix yet again, and it'll be the Kiwis that'll hold on for 5th. So it's a 1, 6, and a 5 for Peter Burling after winning that first race.
There we go, already the debrief taking place on board New Zealand there. Pete Seno was a bit late, and then when they were behind everyone, they were stuck in the pack. But good result here for the Germans, going to bring it home in 6th. Nice job. They've had a solid day. It's going to be so interesting to look at these results. It's been so up and down there. I think it's going to be really, really tight. And we look forward to seeing what we're left with.
Remember, Germany, the first year in the SailGP full season, and Spain will come in right behind them in 7th place to back up the 4th they got in race number 2 and the 6th in race number 1, the winners of the last event in Los Angeles. Now, the battle is on for the bottom, and Stevie, these points are huge. 8th is way better than 9th and 10th, and right now Australia's trying to salvage things, but Canada's trying to ruin the party.
Yeah, I mean, the Canadians, well, they've got the right of way here, and it's probably more important, these points, for Australia than Canada at this stage of things, because the Australians need to get anything they can. This is potentially an 8th place here. Phil Robertson, again, he's giving a little bit of feedback to the umpires the whole time, saying he had to avoid the collision. Not sure about that one, I've got to be honest with you. But anyway, the Australians, they could really do a getting home in 8th, because they've had a bit of a decent day with the comeback and a race win. But this one, it's going to hurt them on the scoreboard, that's for sure.
Yeah, it'll be a 5, 1, and an 8 for Tom Slingsby. And a rough day with those 8 collision points docked to Canada and Phil Robertson after that incident with Spain.
I just think it's one of those things in sport, Todd, isn't it? I mean, the rules are the rules, but everyone can interpret the rules and see the one situation slightly differently. I mean, it was a tight call that the umpires made. Phil's clearly going to see it very differently to how Craig Mitchell and his team saw it, and probably how the Spanish saw it. Everyone sees it differently, but the rules are the rules. And yeah, tough day for them. Tough day for the Swiss though, as well.
Started off with a 4th in the first race, and the Swiss end up with 2 last place performances. So 1 point apiece for those, 10 points for the win, 1 for last. So the Swiss have plenty of debriefing to do here in Saint-Tropez. So here we go.
Yeah, on board the Swiss boat here, Todd, and you can see it's a big day required for that team, I'd have said here, really. So going to see what they can do.
Final 45 seconds before the start of race number 4. 2 fleet races and then the event final.
Well, the positioning's pretty important now. They've got the smaller 24-metre wings here, but they've been sailing around well. It's just going to be this takeoff phase that's the really tricky bit with these wings. Comms are high at this point, well positioned. They're all quite a long way back, trying to give themselves a good run-up. Left-hand side of the screen's our start line. The blue triangle there suggesting the favoured position. Australia looks pretty good for that. All the teams are long way back here. They're winding it up. Australia look well positioned. Canada at the top of the line and Great Britain. But how is the timing looking? I think they're late. The Australians look good, well positioned. Expect the line to turn white, and we'll be go on day 2 here in Saint-Tropez. Brilliant start out the middle of the line for Canada, Australia and Great Britain on the inside. I think are going to be able to hold on to that inside line and should lead us away around Mark 1.
Denmark and Switzerland out the back, but it is the Canadians, the Australians, and Great Britain as they make their way to mark number 1. This is race 4 on Championship Sunday here in Saint-Tropez.
Absolutely crucial moment into mark 1. Can Canada get clear ahead? They've done it. They've managed to convert that start. They're round the British. Brilliant work by Phil Robertson and his crew there. And now they're setting up for gate 2. Nice lead for the Canadians.
Still happy days there.
Little more breathing room than yesterday. Remember, New Zealand not out on the water after that incident. Their boat unable to go, so it is Canada out in front. Great Britain, Australia, Spain, the USA, Germany, and France, with Denmark and Switzerland out the back.
And here we've got the live speeds for all the top 3 teams, Canada, GBR, and Australia. 50 kilometers an hour of boat speed. That's equal to miles per hour and knots below.
And here we go, crucial stage in the race. We've heard a bit of onboard there. Annie, the strategist at the back of the Canadian boat, talking about being happy with a left turn. So she wants to come to gate 2, turn left. She'll be trying to find more wind on the racecourse and minimise the manoeuvres. They're nicely laid up here. And when you're out in front, the comms can generally be a little bit calmer.
Lulling here, yeah. Come up a little bit.
Voice of Chris Draper, the wing trimmer there, talking about the setup of the boat, and then Phil Robertson is chatting tactics. So they're going to turn left at this mark. GBR, they've converted that good start, hanging on to second, and we're going to start to learn about the course. A lot of the crews seem pretty keen to head out with a left turn to what we'd call the right-hand side of the course as they make their way into the wind.
Canada the first through gate number 2. Emirates GBR in second, Spain right behind them. Australia decides to split the course. Germany goes the way of the Spanish.
Yesterday we saw that Mark 1 position was critical for a good overall finishing result. So that's really good news for Canada and GBR.
On board with Australia there. The French also up here for that side. And Jimmy Spithill in a great position right now. Not on this race, but he is sitting in the tie for second overall, as they sit in 7th. So points at a premium. Really, with Canada being out front, Stevie, this kind of changes the dynamics because they really don't have a chance to get into the final after that 8-point deduction.
Yeah, I think they can't make it points-wise, but for Great Britain, they need a good day. Denmark and USA, they're 7th and 8th at the moment, but they were well up overnight, so they're going to have to start to move their way through the fleet. Nice manoeuvre. They turn the boat through the wind on board Great Britain there. Great manoeuvre, and they're showing us in the lead. These ladder lines on our course here show how far the boats have progressed up the course. But Canada, here they go. They're winding the speed up. They were first to be on the foils, and they're looking pretty fast.
And just a reminder on the bottom left here of our race to the final. Currently, with these positions, this would see GBR take that lead spot, Australia and the Danish as well. But the Spanish are just on the edge of qualifying, so any points they can gain here are critical.
A lot of points on the line, and as we see now, Canada, they're already talking about the next mover. When they turn their boat, the British will have the right of way. Tricky situation for Canada here. When they turn back, the British are going to be a problem for them. How well can they execute this turn?
Canada makes the turn. Here comes Spain and Emirates GBR.
Both of those boats have the right of way, so it's all about judging this cross.
No slower than that.
Voice of Chris Draper, he sounded calm. He was pretty happy they've made it. Great Britain decided to turn first. Now, Canada, well lined up for gate 3. Can Ainsley and the British crew make this right turn? If they can make it round the right turn, they will be leading, but they're tight. They're close to the position. They've had to put it down. They're going to be slower than Canada, but I think they'll hold the inside position.
Are you surprised that Ben Ainsley didn't hold that line a little longer and maybe make it difficult for Canada?
I think he just knew that if he'd made it difficult for Canada, Canada would have shot round behind them and been so much faster that he had to try and position his boat in front. So it was good positioning by Ainsley. Decided to sail a little slower, but less distance.
How about Denmark? They were mired in 9th and 10th place over those first 2 legs, and here they are now moving up into 4th place.
Yeah, I mean, it's the story of the weekend, really. Sehersted's doing a great job of sailing that boat fast around the course and overtaking boats. It's been the story. If you're at the back of the pack, can you work your way through the fleet? And this top of the course, Todd, up under the fans in Saint-Tropez, there's a lot less wind. Canada, they choose to turn early and they've fallen off the foils. They're really slow. Canada are actually going left to right on our screen, but you can see the Germans in 5th have nearly caught them up. Rush decision by Robertson could have cost them some places.
So Phil Robertson making his way back down the course in 4th place.
Have a look at that, Todd. Look, that's a 200-metre gain for Ainsley. Top of our screen on Great Britain. Bottom of our screen, Canada. They went round together, but a huge loss for Canada.
And here we've got the wind speeds across the course. Currently, the British have the most breeze on the top of the screen, 17 to 20 kilometres an hour of pressure, while the Canadians have slightly less. Part of the reason why we saw them struggle to get back up on the foils after their incident at the top gate.
Now, this would be a huge win for Great Britain because they got a 2nd in race number 1, really fell back, got an 8th in race number 2, and then finished off the day with a 3rd in race number 3 yesterday.
There we go. Canada turn the boat. Second time they've turned on this downwind leg, and they've lost a lot of distance. Looks to me like Spain are well past them. Certainly our leaderboard suggesting Canada all the way back in fourth. They are, look at that. Denmark are up to third. Brilliant work for the Danish, and expect Great Britain to set up for a left turn and head back to that side of the course where they made their game before. Here they go, one last turn, and then they'll be heading up into the wind.
So at gate number 4, Sir Ben Ainslie and Emirates GBR decide to go to that more favored side of the course. They have the lead. In second place, the winners of the last event in Los Angeles. Spain looking very good in second. Denmark looking fast. And here come the Canadians. Look at the speed.
Now, Canada dropping back was a huge gain for the Spanish team, as that currently gives them enough points to pip ahead of Australia into the final. Obviously, another race to come after this. This is big news for the Spanish team.
Yeah, Stevie, I can't remember the last time we didn't have Australia in the event final.
Well, Australia or New Zealand, of course. I mean, it's potentially a big shake-up for the season here. And we can see now the Danish, they choose to turn away. Australia back in the picture, but he's going to need a good result. I think at this stage, it's worth mentioning why the boat's heading off in different directions. Well, they've got to zigzag their way up the wind. That's the boat won't go straight into the wind.
Just try and make the Spanish life hard when we can.
Hannah, there you go. Hannah, the strategist. She's thinking about the overall points there. She'll have the results in her mind, and she'll know that the Spanish are a threat for that final. They're the boat behind, so they make it hard. How do you make it hard? You try and block the wind to your boat behind you, because if you can give them disturbed, turbulent air, it's impossible to go as fast.
Two-time Olympic gold medalist Hannah Mills, the strategist for Emirates GBR.
Pressure on the nose as well as inside.
Constantly feeding information to Ainslie.
When she's talking about pressure, she's not talking about the pressure they feel from the boats behind. She's talking about the wind and where you can find more wind.
And this is interesting here. This is the Mark 1 to now position. Now, obviously, we expected GBR to do well. They had a good start, still in the lead. But look at the Danish. They were in 8th at Mark 1 and have moved all the way up to 4th. That's just shown how well they've sailed in this race. Head out of the boat and really looking for the puffs.
Here we go. So they're just talking about the setup here, Todd. We're really nearly at the top of this final upwind leg. There's not a lot of manoeuvres left for the British, potentially just one more turn through the wind. And they're sailing this boat very fast today. It's been a disappointing start to season 4. We had the youngster Diego Portin winning in Los Angeles with the Spanish crew, and potentially some of the, let's say, more experienced crews, such as Sir Ben Ainslie. He starts to look like he needs a result.
Straight.
Nice maneuver there. The wind seems to be holding up. There you see the speed in green. They are at the perfect speed for foiling. It has to be over 30. They've come down just a little bit. And here comes Spain, hot on their heels.
Just back on the foils. Have they judged it right? Can they make it down to this gate without turning again?
Lifting is a touch now.
We've got no issue boats.
So Hannah Mills letting Ben Ainslie know no issues with any boats. They've got clear sailing. The epitome of it is they approach gate number 5, and it looks like Emirates GBR is going to make it to the finish line and pick up a victory.
Nice positioning there. They've done a good job of minimising the manoeuvres. They've always turned that boat really tight for making these upwind gates, but they've got round, and now they turn. It's just a little sprint to the finish.
Constantly vigilant as they make their way in front of the Adrenaline Lounge. Race number 1 on Championship Sunday goes the way of Emirates GBR.
Fans on the shore. There are plenty of fans watching, plenty of happy fans seeing that. Now Spain up in second place. They need a good finish here. Canada and Denmark are tight. Canada have the right of way there, but if Spain can get round that mark, which I think they can, they've fallen off the foils, but I think they're going to have enough lead to hang on to this second place. Looks calm on board the Spanish boat, and this could really put them in good stead to make the final.
And Canada totally playing the spoiler right now, as they really don't have an opportunity to make it after those 8 points deducted yesterday with the collision with the Spanish. Canada's going to take points away from Denmark.
Denmark and Australia, crucially, and in 9th place, the USA. They were in a final position before this race, but also Phil and the crew. Don't forget, they're racing hard for season points. If they can claw back a few places, even if they only get out of this event in 7th, it will mean all the season points that they can get are crucial.
But I'm just so hit out, I don't watch it.
So Nikolai Sehested and Denmark.
My mind was in boundaries from yesterday. Yeah, exactly. I like, that was what, I was so close going out there with that mark.
There you go, just talking about the race course and how tight they are to get in and around this course there. They're trying to learn the course in this first race. They should understand the day a lot better for Tom Slingsby coming across the line there in 5th. Well, it's another, if we're honest, slightly average one. However, he will know he's right in the hunt. And of course, got to remember, Todd, all you've got to do is make that final 3, and you've got every shot of winning the event.
And we've seen Tom Slingsby and the Australians come from behind before. Now the battle for 6th place. Look at the Germans coming on at full speed on the foils. The Swiss are going to try to inch this thing to the line, and this is going to be close. Switzerland, do they have enough steam to get across the line before the Germans that are charging hard? And it does look like they'll just cross it. Seb Schneider and Nathan Outridge get it done. They've claimed 6. Germany holds on for 7.
Tight finish in there. It was interesting there, Nathan, talking about the start. A lot of the boats did look late on that start. Their timing was off, and talking about timing being off, France and USA, they need big results, and this is big result in the wrong sense.
And the USA holding on. Looks like they're going to have the speed to pass France in front of their home fans here, and they're going to pick up that extra point. So 8th may make a difference if they can get a big finish on the final race. So the Americans race in 8th. France holds on for 9th, or dead last, because New Zealand not racing today, damaged boat yesterday.
I can't wait to see these results.
Yeah.
I've got a funny feeling that there could be like 6 or 7 teams with every chance of making it to the final. So this is going to be some race. Pressure of the day could well be on Emily Nagal, looking after the results and trying to keep on top of the abacus to let us know where we're at.
Well, we can expect more of the same for race number 5. It is super gusty out here. We've been talking about ships, but for me, it's all about pressure. It's about finding those pockets of pressure around the course. And if you fall in a hole, you can lose 5 or 6 places. So those strategists have a big job on their cards today. If anything, the wind has picked up slightly. The lulls are still big, but the gusts are bigger. We're seeing maybe 24 km/h puffs. So we should be in store for a fantastic, another reaching start here in Saint-Tropez.
And Lisa, I've got to ask you about the massive gains. We saw that in race number 4 with Denmark picking it up. Is that just luck of the draw, or can you anticipate those massive gains and where they might be coming from your reporting?
You can certainly anticipate it, especially at that first turning gate, because you're away from the shore and you can see it coming. So it really is like a conveyor belt. If you get on that, it can shoot you up the course. So big rewards out here for the teams that are getting it right.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. Down on the water, we'll come back to you in a moment as the race gets started in 1:10. And there you see, that is the battle. Top 3 moving on to the event final. Australia on a tie with Spain, but Australia would lose out on the tiebreakers as it stands right now. So 10 points for a win, 1 point for last place, and now everyone, Stevie, into the start box, and this is the most critical race so far. They're all critical, but this is the one for teams like the USA, teams that are on the bubble or close to it, and then the teams that are in the top 2, they've got to hold on to that position.
Yeah, I mean, Emirates GBR, they're in a good position here, but we wouldn't be at all surprised to see a little bit of tussle between Australia and Spain. They're well separated at the moment. We can see that pole position is the place to be, the blue triangle on the left-hand side of our screen there, but I think anywhere up the line is quite good. Australia and Great Britain are tight together. Denmark have been sailing well, and Spain look well lined up for a good start here. It's now about timing and how fast can you hit the line. Here go Canada. They turn the boat aggressively. Phil Robertson spinning the boat around on the Canadian boat here as they look to come in fast at the line. USA look a bit late to me, but he's coming with a late run. Can the USA time this right? 5 seconds to go to the start. Denmark and Australia out the middle of the line. Emirates, Great Britain are back. It's now a fast sprint here. What timing from Jimmy Spittle on board USA, but can he hang on? He's got a slower angle to mark 1 for here. It's just straight line sailing across the breeze, and Rockwell, Denmark, there they go. They speed her up, and they're looking to roll over the top.
Here we go, mark number 1, the final fleet race of the day, and it is Denmark that holds on to that pole position. The USA tucks into 2nd place with Australia off the right.
USA pull it out when they need to. Australia crucially are ahead of Spain, but at the moment Emirates Great Britain's got some work to do. They're in the pack. These points are going to be tight, so the next few manoeuvres into gate 2 are crucial as Denmark, they've stretched away and they set things up nicely. First to turn towards gate 2, and we know the crews are going to want to try and simplify this and get themselves straight round with a left turn.
Only going to get more breeze. Happy with left turn? Happy.
So nice that the breeze and Mother Nature cooperated today. A penalty, it looks like a boundary penalty for Australia. That could be huge. They'll have to drop back just a little bit. But what a start for Jimmy Spittle and USA SailGP when they needed it most.
Well, they really did need it, Todd.
That's heady. All right, I'm going to settle it down here.
Pretty calm on board Sehested. There you go, yeah, settle it down a bit. That's probably a good mode. Now you're out in front, you've got a bit of space. Let's get that tempo down and start sailing the boat smooth and fast, which they've done a great job of all weekend. But it's tight in the pack. USA look like they're going to be able to get round left turn, but Australia, first to move away. He's looking for space on the race course.
And it's all going off in this race to the final. Currently, as it stands, the Danish, British and Aussies would be going through. But the USA is only 1 point behind Australia. So if they could get ahead here, or if Australia lose a place.
Right now, Lee, I got to imagine, Emily, that the USA is big fans of Spain, and they would love to see Diego Botín overtake Tom Slingsby and knock them back a point.
Early stages of the race, we can see boats starting to get very slow at gate 2. It's going to be halfway up this upwind leg that we'll get a better feel of the course here. What Tom Slingsby on board Australia has done well is find some space. He's in clear wind, but as we see our ladder lines on the course here, we can see that on the top of our screen, the right-hand side of our race course, Denmark, nearly 200 metres further progressed up the course, and a bit of a gain for them.
So before we have our first crossing here on leg number 3 and race number 5, let's go down on the water. Lisa Darman, and look into your crystal ball. Whose position do you like best with the conditions that you're seeing down there?
Denmark have picked this perfectly. They've been bowled all weekend, and we know that right side is working, so they're looking really strong. But the battle is between Spain and Australia. Australia are not giving them any space because they know what is at stake here.
And the Australians, right on cue, overtake the Americans for that second position. So that's going to make life difficult for Jimmy Spithill and USA SailGP as they drop back to third, desperately in need of points. They're going to need to get past Denmark and Australia, and then have Spain maybe help them out as well.
Sorry, I went from headed.
Really tight here. What I noticed there was Great Britain have done a nice job of finding some space. They've moved up to 5th, which will be good news for them as we're on board Australia here. Tight moment in the pre-start there. That was a big aggressive luff from the British, but Slingsby responded quick enough, got away. No love lost there. Here we are on board the front of the British boat. We can see now Australia must keep clear.
Right, flag that. Yep, flag that. Dangerous, Australia, penalty.
Pretty clear instructions from Ben Ainsley to the umpires there as to what he thought was happening, or should be happening more like. But now look at this. The wind has got a little bit light on the top of our screen. Australia, they've closed right up behind Denmark, but the USA, they do not have the right of way in this situation, but they're coming in fast and have made some gains. Britain, they look slow. There's not a lot of wind where Great Britain are at the moment. It's definitely light up under the fans on the shoreline.
Gate number 3 in the final fleet race, and then the top 3 are going on to the event final. Australia, they opt for that right-hand side where they just came from. Denmark goes to the other side. It looks like Spain, what are they going to do? They're going to follow the Americans, or they're going to follow the Danes? They're going to follow the Danes.
Follow the Danes, and Lisa's been saying this decision up here is crucial. These next few seconds, whether or not you find wind could be so important. And Eric Heil on board the German boat, he looks set to play spoiler as he's closed up on the British, still behind them, but could well end up with a split at the top of the course. It's going to be about who finds more wind, and at the moment, Sehested, bottom right-hand corner of our screen, the Danish boat turns, but they're moving away nicely.
You go all the way back, Stevie, to practice day on Friday. The Danes have just looked so consistent.
And just shown right here, race to the final, Danish still leading the charge. Australia and GB are tied on points in second and third. And Spanish dropping a little bit further back. They're going to be pushing hard here to close that gap and hopefully gain a point.
Well, the Spanish, Stevie, might not make the final, but this is a good follow-up from their win in Los Angeles. It wasn't just a fluke.
They've said well all season. They're second overall in the season standing as we talk, and they've put together a brilliant performance. Very young, talented team. They've got a lot of work to do here. They're probably relying on a mistake from the British to have any hope. Big dip behind there by Rockwool, Denmark, and they've got to watch out for Jimmy Spithill now. Denmark don't have the right of way. That's a tight moment in the race there. Really tight moment. Now, Spain, they need to overtake those 2 boats in front of them, and they're going to be an awful lot closer than they were. Nervous times for Ben Ainsley on board Great Britain, but he's stalking the Spanish boat at the moment, chasing them down.
And once again, Tom Slingsby in Australia pulling an absolute Houdini after the last race, looking terrible, finishing a 5th again, and he somehow is finding his way, Emily, into that top 3.
We've seen the Australians sailing well all week. Yesterday, we saw them as one of the fastest boats on the upwind legs. They're also one of the best at manoeuvring. Same with the Danish. They're both gaining a lot of distance in these manoeuvres, while other teams less so.
Not sure you get his heart rate up until he's properly nervous before these last couple of races. Anyway, he's not at operating temperature, Todd.
And while we talk about the Australians, how they find a way to get to the front, Spain looking good, Emirates GBR looking good, Denmark's been consistent, Stevie. I hate to do it, but France on their home waters, they have just looked awful.
Yeah, well, we talked about the big thing in that position swap. You know, they're back in ninth. They've swapped one of their back three, which I think both the boats that have swapped their back three, you know, the driver, the flight controller, or the wing trimmer, Switzerland and France, they're both struggling in these tricky, gusty conditions, and it is a huge change to make.
They're the Americans, as they move past on that position, they pick up a spot into third now, so they're 2 points out of making the top three. All this depends on really three boats. What Spain, Denmark, and the USA can pull off here on this final upwind leg.
It's really tight at the moment. The Spanish have done a fantastic job of getting their way through here, up into second place at the moment. Denmark, slightly worrying for them ahead of a final, a probable final, is the fact they've dropped from first back to fifth. You'd kind of expect the leading boat historically is stretched away. Denmark won't be happy that they've got themselves caught up in the middle of the pack again. As we can see, Emirates Great Britain showing in third at the moment. They'll like what they see if that happens. But right now, they've got to watch out for the boats coming back from the top of our screen. They have the right of way, but the ladder lines suggest that Great Britain are further up the course. Nice gains for Spain, nice gains for Great Britain at the moment. Aggressive from Australia. Look at that. He turns his boat directly on top of the wind for Spain and Australia, trying to block the wind to them, trying to slow them down, but ultimately trying to stay in the same patch of water as his rivals, as we see Great Britain have to dip behind Jimmy Spittle's USA.
So the Americans still in the fight, holding down third right now. It's Australia and Spain leading the way. Great Britain has moved into fourth. They look to be safe after that tremendous performance on the first race of the day where they got the win. Hannah Mills tell us, you know, make life a little more difficult for Spain. You know they've crunched the numbers, Stevie. They knew exactly what they needed in this last race.
Yeah, she definitely will. Look, the Spanish backhand side of our screen there. We just did a poor turn, fell off the foils. That could be a big moment for them. They've got to accelerate that Spanish boat. They're up over 30, should be foiling.
I think we go with them. Okay, so we're watching them, we're on a match.
On a match, that means they just want to try and stay directly on the wind, directly in front of the Spanish and slow them up. But the battle here is for Denmark.
Exactly, Stevie. Right now, with Spain in second and Denmark in fifth, that would actually see the Spanish leapfrog and end up into the final. So all the pressure right now is on the Danish overtaking.
There we go. See, bottom left-hand corner there, Spain and Denmark 34, but it's important to remember that whoever finishes ahead of whoever in the last race will win a tie-break. So Denmark, this could be disaster if they can't make one more gain. They've sailed so well all weekend, so well at the beginning of this race, but just one slight slip, one slightly slow leg, and they're now under a lot of pressure.
2, 1. Okay, rudder's coming off.
And it looks like Tom Slingsby has done enough. Remember yesterday, they won race number 2. They backed it up with an 8th in race number 3. So they've been up and down all over the table this weekend. But when it counted most, race number 5, the 3-time reigning and defending champions, the Aussies, come to race 5 in Saint-Tropez and pick up a win.
Oh, it could be crucial. We just saw the USA had lost a few positions. I think Denmark are through. They could even jump ahead of the British here. Denmark has the right of way at the mark. He can slow the British up if he wants to. He's going to try and make it hard here. What does the Danish need to do? I think he just needs to finish fourth. He's taking him. Here we go. He's pushing the British off. Not enough, though. Ainsley keeps the boat flowing. Ainsley's boat will foil first. Emirates Great Britain from here. They should be able to get up on the foils and lead in third place, but it's tight to the finish. And Denmark, oh my word, if Germany can get Denmark, that could be crucial for Denmark.
That could be it.
That could have been a huge mistake by the Danish to try and hunt the British. I think if they'd finished fourth, it would have been enough.
Emirates GBR with just enough speed as they cross the line in third place, and it is Germany that grabs fourth place.
As the spoiler as well, and a fourth Denmark. That's disaster. I think. I didn't do great at school. I think that's enough to mean
Denmark might lose another
Spain
point.
are going to be on the tie-break, and at the last mark, Denmark, oh no, this is disastrous.
Yeah,
this is so painful for the Danish fans.
And this place is hard to sail at.
There you go.
Understatement of the day. This place is hard to sail at as Denmark was locked into the top 3, and they just drop anchor on the final leg to fall out of the top 3.
I don't think he had to try and hunt the British. Fourth was enough, though, Todd. They did not crunch the numbers well enough. Disaster for Denmark.
7 down. Nice.
So Canada comes across the line in 8. This will be a definitely forgettable event for them after the 8-point deduction with the collision with Spain. France having to retire mid-race. Stevie, this has just been the worst for them after so much momentum coming into the season. Anticipation, they make the change at flight controller. It did not work out.
Well, it doesn't seem to have worked very well at all, to be perfectly honest with you. They've been down on performance. Yesterday, we saw some real high moments. They were fast downwind, so it's not all negative. But ultimately, the scoreboard doesn't lie, so they're going to be pretty disappointed right now.
We're seeing a very similar thing to last race. It's super gusty out here. There's lots of danger zones. So even though a boat might be out in front, we know that they are not safe. But it is getting pretty gusty out here, and I'm lucky enough to be joined now by wing trimmer Blair Tuke. Blair, I know you'd be rather sailing than sitting here with me, but what do you think we've got in store for this final?
Yeah, this is certainly a pretty tough perspective for me to view the racing from. But like you say, the wind's really patchy. It's actually just pulsing right now as we see it. So, yeah, boats are on the right configuration. I really think it's going to be the team that gets off the start line fastest with, you know, when it comes down to a 3-boat final, you really want to be the team that's going the fastest right at the gun and then leading to Mark 1. And from there, just trying to stay in the pressure. It's so up and down, as you heard the skippers say just before, so it's that team that manages it from there on in.
And lining up for that start, is it a lot easier than a general fleet start because there's just way more space?
Quite a long way left.
Yeah, I think it is. Some teams suit it better. You know, our starting technique last season really lent towards that, and you'll see some of these teams might go for more of a run-up, some might come for a little bit more conventional, but there's definitely less boats to manage, so it's just more on the time and distance for that boat on the start line.
We'll hand it back to the guys to take us through and see who does that run-up start.
Yeah, look forward to it.
All right, thank you, Lisa. We'll get set now as we come up on 90 seconds to go before the start of the race. First, we've got Spain. Emily, they are talented indeed.
Yeah, we've got a really young, talented team. We've got the same lineup as we did in LA. That's Diego, Yol, Florian, Nicole, Jon, and Bernardo. So a really strong team, all young and super enthusiastic.
And how about the Aussies, Stevie?
Well, I think if you've watched SailGP, you know the crew on this boat. This is probably, you know, one of the most well-known and experienced crews on the boat. I think big pressure on Tash Bryant to have her head out of the boat, and big pressure on the wing trimmer, Carl Langford. I mean, Blair didn't allude to it, but I think that how well you trim the wing through these changeable conditions is also a hard job today.
And of course, Emirates GBR looking for that big win here. Stevie, they have got so much experience, so much talent on this boat. You got to think eventually it's all going to click and they're going to just drive away.
Yeah, they're definitely sailing a lot better here today, and I think, again, Hannah Mills at the back of the boat. I can't help thinking those strategists have got a big job on to help the drivers see where the breeze is as we see 40 seconds to go and they're already in position. Ainsley talking about, did he want to be down the line nearer the bottom of our screen or up the line where you're going to have a faster angle? At the moment, Ainsley has a pretty good controlling position on Emirates Great Britain. That's a lot of water on the boat there with 27 seconds to go. He's defending against the ruse. Slingsby pushing. Emirates Great Britain defending, and it's going to be Spain with the clear runner. Australia very aggressive from Slingsby here. He's going to look to park the British boat. As soon as those boats overlap, if they do, the British will have to keep clear. It's really, really tight. Has Ainsley timed it right? The Australians can't hook them. Ainsley looks early back to the line here. It's aggressive match racing. Watch for the line to turn white. Oh, that was so tight on the gun, and the Spanish are late. The Spanish late at the top of the line will have a faster angle. Looks like a clear start, and Slingsby's aggression's paid for him. The British are going to struggle to get over the top from here at Mark 1. It should be the ruse in first place.
Well, they couldn't get the hook in, but at mark number 1, it is Australia that has the whole shot position. What a maneuver by Tom Slingsby as he pushes the Brits to the outside. Here comes Spain back in the mix.
Yeah, nice little move from the Australians there. He turned the British up a bit closer to the wind. That's brought the Spanish back into the race, but first decision goes to Great Britain. They spin away. He thinks he's seen win first. Spain try to follow. Everyone moving very quickly, trying to react to the changeable wind conditions.
Hold. Let speed come.
Currently seeing the highest speeds of any race so far this weekend. GBR doing over 60 kilometers an hour downwind here. Spanish closing the gap now from behind 65s. it's going to be a tight race.
I don't know about how many manoeuvres can they do into the gate. Australia look pretty well set for a left turn, but if Great Britain can make it down, they'll have the right of way on the inside. It's going to get really tight at the bottom. When Great Britain turn, Australia have got to watch out because the British will have the right of way.
And they got to watch out for those super yachts. The fans, look how close they are to gate number 2. Prime viewing condition, and it looks like Australia at gate 2 is going to opt for the left side of the course, and Great Britain at the last second decides to follow with Spain sitting at 3rd.
That's great news for the Australians. They'll be so happy to see the boats follow round behind them. They're going to be faster because they had to do no manoeuvres. Great Britain had to do 2 manoeuvres late on, and look at that, Spain are off the foils. And then we see on our ladder lines here, things are already extending away. And if we can get down the water to Lisa and Blair and see whether they like the side of the course that Australia are going to.
Put pressure out of this. Yeah.
Well, Wright has been working all day, but I think Australia's going to be pretty happy where they are. They can basically stay between the mark and the other boats. Blair, would you be pretty happy for Australia right now?
Yeah, that was a pretty strong start. They executed that first leg really well and going the right way, and they've got them covered right now. So it's going to be a tough road back for, especially for the Spanish from here. But I think even for GBR, Aussie have really got a hold on this one.
The British boat were looking really strong, but they had a big wobble on that downwind, and that almost cost them the race.
Yeah, that really did. They pushed a little bit too hard there. I think they did the right thing jibing before Australia, but yeah, I think Parker might have pushed a little bit hard there, but yeah, it's going to be a tough road back from here.
Tough road back, but I remember the grand final last year saying that the New Zealand boat was out of it and they got to back within 5 metres, so I think there's plenty of race left here. As we come up towards the Saint-Tropez shoreline, Tom Slingsby said how nervous he was of that gate 3 where there's less wind, it's gusty, it's shifty. That's where the opportunities are going to come. Of course, you'd rather be in first place right now, and we can see already Australia in a match race just trying to stay between himself and the other boats.
And all of these manoeuvres are crucial. Right now, Australia are the fastest boat by 2 kilometres an hour, but it's that foiling percentage that is critical. So far, in all of the manoeuvres, the Aussies have kept up on the foils the most. They've accelerated the quickest out of it, and right now sailing almost straight up the ladder lines.
It shows how shifty the wind is, Emily, doesn't it? They just managed to almost sail straight up the course. The wind's turned back and they faced away, but expect a manoeuvre from Australia soon as they're on that yellow line, the ley line. That's the line that says they'll make it to the next gate with no more manoeuvres. If they can stay on the foils for the next 30 seconds in and out of this gate, I think they'll be well set. We're halfway through the race, but this is probably the pinch moment in the race.
Let's just focus here. Yeah.
Look at Great Britain. They are making gains here as they pick up the speed much cleaner now. They're going to both head to the same side of the course.
It looks like it at the moment, and there you go. They've done a great job of this all day, Great Britain, minimising distance. We can see there the extra distance that the Australians have sailed. They've done that to guarantee safety, but what they've also done is lose a lot of lead to the British. They still have control, but it's now a pure match race between first and second, as I think the Spanish have got a lot to do now.
Yeah, stand by.
So what was nearly a 200-meter lead is now shrunk down to about 100 as Emirates GBR has closed the gap. Just 3 seconds behind at the last gate, but they decide to turn away first.
Yeah, they move away first, but we could see there was a real dark patch of water right next to the Australian boat. I think the Australians have done a nice job of staying in good breeze, and there we go. We heard Carl Langford sailing into really good pressure. Look how high they are out of the water, and they look well lined up to gate 2. Great comms from Kyle Langford there. He's talking about the wind dropping as they come down towards this next gate. So the crucial thing now is, can they get through gate 4 with no more manoeuvres or not? And here we go. We heard Tom Slingsby. We're going to go right. There's going to be one more manoeuvre from Australia here. They're going to turn the boat and head out to a right turn. Looks like they've made a gain, though, at this point.
Okay, hold that, Tash, hold that. And they're coming up.
Coming up.
Yeah, Tash Bryant steering really accurately out of the jibe there, and once again Australia, he's happy to sail a little bit of extra distance to set himself up well for the next leg, but they're high. They got a little bit too high there. They skidded sideways. Good save by Jason Waterhouse. Australians are fast, but I think we've got a split.
It's one of the things we've seen over this weekend. All of the flight controllers are really pushing that ride height. Yesterday, the French led the way with the highest boat. Today, it's the Australians.
There we go, we got a split, Todd. Lisa, Blair, what can you see on the water? Is this a game for Great Britain, or have Australia called it right?
Yeah, we're going different angles.
Australia are looking pretty strong from my eyes. Blair, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Great Britain did well to get the split at the bottom. That's what you want. But yeah, to me, the Aussies are in that pressure nicely. They're coming across to the right-hand side of the racetrack, looking up, and I think you'll see a tack in 10 seconds or something, and they'll have them pretty well covered.
There we go. Tight moment there, as we can see the wind has turned to favour the British. It is tight, but this is the moment Blair was talking about. Will the Australians be able to block the breeze of the British? Australia turn. Great Britain's foiling faster than the Australians. Can they come alongside? If they can get overlapped alongside, the Australians are going to have to keep clear. Here we go, Australia have got to get out of the way. Crucial moment here. It's going to be a protest from Ainsley. Look at him. Oh, there's no drama with the acting skills there from Ainsley. What a moment. Brilliant move. He's got the wind blocked.
Side-by-side drag race, as Ainsley calls it, and here comes the penalty.
There was the penalty, but it's instantly scratched as the British take the lead. But crucially, we've got now one more manoeuvre for the British. Look at that, Ainsley points out the breeze. It's all about this next manoeuvre.
Australia turns, here we go. So it is all on here in the penultimate leg. It is this leg and then a right-hand turn to the finish line, and the championship will be decided. Great Britain in the final leg as they approach this upwind, puts on the afterburners and gets past Australia.
What a move.
And critically there, in their final manoeuvre, they did stay up on the foils. The Aussies dropped off and lost a little more distance.
Well, we said the pressure was on, but if they can make this final right turn, it's going to be theirs. They've got a nice lead. Pressure's on, Todd, but they've delivered.
Absolutely stood and delivered in the most critical time as Sir Ben Ainsley, Hannah Mills, the rest of the crew delivered a masterful performance just when you thought they were out. Emirates GBR comes sailing back and they pass the Flying Roos. Give the win to Emirates GBR in Saint-Tropez.
Turns out they've still got it, Todd.
Yep. Awesome work.
Well, there you go. Ben Ainsley said it
Saving
well.
the best for last, Stevie, out of nowhere. And you saw the angle that they had coming up just after we heard reports that right side was more favorable. It looked like Australia had played the cards right. And out of nowhere, I think they even caught Tom Slingsby by surprise.
Well, they certainly caught Lisa and Blair by surprise, because that all changed so quickly out there on the water. And as Blair said, what was really good was that the Emirates Great Britain managed to get the split. They managed to get sailing a different direction. We're going to go left while they go right. And that was crucial. It gave them the opportunity, and they made the most of it.
Spain will come in, finishing in third, and I don't want to say they were doomed from the get-go, Stevie, but you called that they were late to the start, and when you're racing against Ben Ainsley and Tom Slingsby, you cannot spot them anything, and that's exactly what they did. So Diego Botín did a great job of staying in the mix, just didn't have the power. But Ben Ainsley, as we approached that fifth leg, they were halfway up, nowhere near the Australians, the lead almost 200 meters, and then Ben Ainsley puts on the nitrous, and they go into full afterburner mode as they take the win here. It is Emirates GBR. They win the France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez.
Turn up, huh? I'll jibe. What do you want us to do? Okay, just going to jibe here.
And it has been a time, Stevie, since we've had Emirates GBR popping the champagne corks and getting the win.
Well, we've had to scratch the grey cells actually a little bit, Todd, because it's actually about May 2021, which was the start of season 2 since they've won an event. It's been a long time between drinks for Ben Ainsley and the crew. And well, now they're going to get their champagne moment here, and it's been a long time coming, but what a performance. Shifty conditions, they took advantage of a good shift. There you go, Ainsley there, tricky. Definitely looked tricky, and it definitely was a good battle, but what a show they've put on for the fans on the shore in Saint-Tropez. And Saint-Tropez, well, thank you very much. You delivered such an incredible race there.
Wow, what a day of racing. Just when you thought it was Australia claiming yet another victory, just getting into the final, it is Emirates GBR raising the ghosts of the past, and they scorch the course and get into the final and win it all.